The extremely popular STAR method for behavioral interview questions actually suffers from two major limitations. Number one, it allocates too much time for background information when more of your answer should focus on your accomplishments. Number two, by adhering religiously to the STAR interview format, situation, task, action, and result, many candidates forget or simply don't know when to add takeaways and learnings in their answers. In this video, I'll show you the major differences between the STAR and CARL interview methods and when to use each technique. I'll also walk you through two behavioral interview answers so you can see a side-by-side comparison of the two formats in action. So let's get started. Hi friends, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Jeff, and this channel is all about practical career and interview tips. So if you're a current student or young professional, consider subscribing for more actionable content. Other than the two limitations I mentioned at the beginning, I've heard from interviewers that candidates who rely too heavily on the STAR method end up sounding too robotic, like they're just repeating memorized answers. So if you really want to make an impression on the interviewer, try using the CARL method next time you're answering behavioral interview questions to truly stand out from the crowd. Diving right into it. CARL simply stands for context, action, results, and learnings. At first glance, it doesn't seem all that different from STAR. The A and R even represent the same concepts, action and results. But if we dive a bit further, we realize that the C, context, combines both the situation and task from the STAR method, and this keeps the background information you share concise and to the point. To prompt your brain to think context first, simply ask yourself, what was I hoping to accomplish in this experience? And you often find your answer will naturally include both the situation and the task. Let's take a simple example. Imagine if I were asked the common behavioral interview question, tell me about a time you went above and beyond at work. If I were preparing strictly with the STAR method in mind, my answer might start off looking like this. When I was a management consultant with EY, I worked primarily on finance and supply chain projects. Usually when a project ended, I would help out on other business development work to pitch additional engagements. One time I just rolled off a project and I realized we didn't have a consistent onboarding program for new hires. And so I took the initiative to design a training plan aimed at decreasing new hire ramp-up time. If I were using the CARL format and primed myself to think context first, I would instead start off by saying something like this. When I was a management consultant with EY, I decided to make use of some downtime in between projects to design a training program for new hires, and then launch right into the action and say exactly what I did to make that happen. So I basically used fewer words to lay groundwork for the more important parts of the story. And you might be wondering, does it really matter? Well, yes, because it gives you more time to talk about your learnings. And the learnings is what differentiates you from someone who has an equally, if not more impressive, story. And this is because it shows that you took the extra step and reflected on your experiences, leading to a finding or key takeaway that should influence your future actions. If you're enjoying this comparison between the STAR and CARL methods so far, I actually have a Facebook group where I share exclusive weekly tips. So consider joining if you haven't already. I'll link it down below. This brings us to the second point of this video. How best to come up with a behavioral interview answer around the learnings prompt. And there are really just three questions you want to ask yourself to nail this part. Number one, what are the implications of the actions that you took and of the results you saw? Number two, what do you think you did well? And number three, what would you do differently if you were put in a similar situation? So I'm just going to jump right into a behavioral interview question answer example to show you how to apply this in practice. I'm going to say the prompts like situation and learnings out loud just to make it very clear what I'm doing. Please don't actually say those words as part of your answer in a real interview. Let's say I were asked the common and tricky behavioral interview question, Jeff, tell me about a time you failed. Using the STAR method, my answer might look something like this. Situation. A previous nutrition and fitness presentation I prepared for my colleagues was well received, and so I want to take it a step further and share my entire weekly workout routine with a broader audience. Task. I wanted to create videos on home workouts since many of us were stuck at home for prolonged periods of time this year, and I also wanted to reach people outside of work. Action. I started filming myself working out at home on my phone, and I made small edits in order to share on Instagram and other social media sites. The result, engagement was minimal. Fewer than 1% of my connections liked or viewed what I posted, and so I felt like I wasted so much time learning how to shoot and edit videos. Let's pause right there. Because technically, the STAR method ends with results, right? Even though a question like, tell me about a time you failed, you should really go on to say the lessons you learned and how you can apply those moving forward. And this is where the Carl technique really shines. Let's go through the exact same experience, but this time use the context, action, result, and learning prompts. Context. Following a well-received presentation on fitness and nutrition to my colleagues, I wanted to upload videos on home workouts that will benefit a wider audience. You can see right away that the background information was a lot more concise. The action results would stay the same, so I'm going to skip over those two and go straight to my learnings. Upon reflection, I realized my content on home workouts was simply not in the same league as some of the other well-established fitness coaches out there. So although I felt like I wasted so much time, I didn't give up. I decided to apply my newfound expertise in video editing to another topic. So I took some time to really figure out the topics I have a great deal of knowledge on. And here we are with career interview tips for current college students and young working professionals. If you found that example answer helpful, a like and sub to the channel would be amazing. In a situation where you're nervous, like in an interview, we might overly rely on the acronyms, right? STAR, R, results. Okay, I just need to end with results. Whereas with our good buddy Carl, you will remember to end your answer with learnings. Finally, at this point, some of you might be wondering, does this mean I should never use the STAR format again? No, definitely not. For example, the bullet points in your resume should always follow the STAR format because the ending of your bullet points should be results-oriented, backed up by data points. Learnings are usually not included because that would make the resume too wordy. Feel free to check out my video on how to write an incredible resume. I'll link that down below as well. And finally, if you're comfortable with STAR and has been working well for you, by all means, stick with it. For those of you who are willing to experiment and switch things up, the Carl technique is always going to be here. All right, there you have it. A comparison between the STAR and Carl methods for behavioral interview questions. Just remember, the main point is to incorporate learnings in your answer because that shows the interviewer you took the time and reflected on your experiences. Please give this video a like if you found it helpful and let me know down in the comments below if you have any questions. Subscribe if you haven't already. See you on the next video, and in the meantime, have a great one.